We tried to advance several times, tried to let us read the cells, but we were completely blocked.
And that's one of the paramedics who spoke to Afghan there. Joel, you also managed to speak to Chad's mum, who also went to the scene, and I can only imagine how she must have felt trying to get through to her son, and she was also lost. What did she say?
Yes, Judd's mother, Safa, told us that she tried to get to the scene where he was laying on the ground in the alley. She tried to get into the ambulance that arrived on the scene quite forcefully, hoping that they would be able to take her to her son. Unfortunately, of course, they were also blocked. So she was, as you say, forced to just watch on.
So you've clearly put your findings to the Israeli authorities. What is their response? How do they explain what happened?
So they told us that Jad was a terrorist who had, in their words, attempted to attack the fort. They had said in a previous statement that he had thrown a rock or a piece of concrete either towards or at the soldiers. When they gave a direct statement to us, they didn't repeat that part of the accusation against him. We do, of course, have this footage, which we have used in our report, that shows one of the soldiers entering from out of frame, from behind a wall, and dropping an object next to Jad as he's lying on the floor after he is shot. Right. The object appears to be heavy. The soldier then takes out either a camera or a phone and appears to take a photograph of it next to Jad. Now, Jad's family have told us that they believe this footage appears to show a member of the Israeli military essentially planting evidence next to Jad.
So just as Paul has the time, so they could save him. And Mrs. Lister, he was throwing stones at them. And we were just discussing about what's the thing. Anyone who watches the video will see it.
The throwing of a rock or stone under the rules of engagement for the Israeli military can permit them to respond with lethal force if they believe that their life is in danger. Now, Jad's parents have told us in fact that their son, having viewed that footage, that they don't believe their son poses any kind of threat to the teaching for
The BBC Joel Gunther there and his full report is on live. Let's turn now to the mystery surrounding the origin of this human eye. It's a puzzle that scientists itself have to study it to solve. But the new study objects are answered strange cycle. Forged cassette tapes. You work with other colleagues at London, Sweden. You've been telling us what you discovered.
So, to put it very quickly, what our work is all about is if you look to our distant ancestors, 600 million years back, they all had like fair lateral eyes, and this survived in animals like spiders, butterflies, and squids. But our eyes are actually the opposite order. So these fair lateral eyes in our own ancestors were lost, and we were left with only one median eye. So there goes the cycle entry point in this storyline.
Right, so this has mystified scientists for years, because they couldn't find the traits, I guess. What have you found out?
Exactly, so the conundrum in the field has been that the vertebrate eye, and more specifically the retina, the neural component that sits at the back of it and talks to the brain essentially, has been shown to be fundamentally different from the invertebrate eye and retina. So if it is so well conserved within our lineage, so if you take your favorite, I don't know, shark or falcon or primate, and you look at their retina, they will look fundamentally similar, and it's because the pattern is conserved. But the moment you step out of our own lineage, then the eyes look entirely different. So how do we start having this new pattern emerge? So in our work, what we do is, first of all, we teamed up with colleagues at University of Lund that are experts in invertebrate visual systems, and we have a common goal to answer how does the vertebrate eye emerge. So what we have done is synthesize not only our findings, but findings that span decades back and come from different subfields of visual system structure, function, and evolution, and we propose essentially a trajectory of how different steps took place that led.
You've solved the problem. Yes, you've solved the problem, solved the mystery. And what can you tell us about these Cyclops ancestors? They sound weird.
Right, so the reason these Cyclops ancestors of ours lost their ancestral paired eyes is because they adopted a partially burrowed lifestyle, so they no longer had the need to actually navigate their environment.
Burrowed,
this is
so they
why
lived
we
underground.
lost. Exactly, they were partially burrowed and they were filter feeding. They were avoiding their predators and they were filter feeding with plankton that went by.
This is many, many, many years ago, isn't it, just for context?
Exactly, 600 million years. We cannot be very exact with placing exactly the time point, but it's a long, long time back.
George Kefatzis there with his research on our Cyclopean ancestors, which lived underground, so in the end they didn't need to see that well at all. Luckily we all crawled out of the dirt and have become what we are today. Do stay with us, lots more to come from NewsHour.
This is the BBC World Service, exploring new technology transforming our planet.
Australia's Great Barrier Reef, home to over 600 species of coral, is one of the richest and most complex natural ecosystems on Earth. But it's in danger.
They're one of the bellwethers of climate change. Because corals exist very close to their upper temperature limits already, warming oceans really threaten their persistence.
I'm Caroline Steele. Join me as we follow a team of scientists restoring the reef with baby corals grown in a lab.
The National Sea Simulator is spawning and breeding corals to try and enhance their resilience to heat in the future.
Can this pioneering experiment help save a natural wonder?
I think we need to undertake this challenge and we need to do it now.
How can we save the Great Barrier Reef? Friday at 20:30 GMT.
Still to come, as Donald Trump amasses the largest US force in the Middle East since the US-led invasion of Iraq, talks resume between Iran and the US for a nuclear deal. But will diplomacy work? And if it doesn't, what next? Also, is Japan facing a demographic time bomb? The birth rate has dropped for the 10th year in a row, and the benefits of wooden houses in Portugal. It's all coming up after the news.
BBC News with Justine Green. Pakistan says it's carried out retaliatory strikes in Afghanistan after the Taliban said it had attacked multiple Pakistani army positions along the country's shared border. Islamabad accused Kabul of what it called unprovoked fire in Pakistan's Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province. Democrats on the US Congressional Committee examining the Epstein files have demanded that they hear from those who had direct contact with the late sex offender, not the former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, who testified she'd not met him. They called for the release of all remaining files and want President Trump to appear before the committee. Oman's foreign minister says the United States and Iran will hold discussions on a technical level in Vienna next week. Badr Abdul Saidi made the comments after Washington and Tehran held what he described as significant progress over Iran's nuclear ambitions at the latest round of talks in Geneva. Israel says its forces have struck 8 Hezbollah targets in eastern Lebanon. It said the compounds were being used to prepare and plan attacks. President Volodymyr Zelensky has said the next meeting between Ukraine, the US and Russia is likely to take place in the United Arab Emirates at the beginning of March. His comments came after Ukrainian officials held talks in Geneva with US envoy Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner. The European Commission has rejected proposals to set up a new fund expanding abortion access for women struggling to obtain care. The Upper House of Parliament in Argentina, the Senate, is debating whether or not to loosen a glacier protection law. Environmental groups have opposed the measure. But a women's tennis tournament in Texas has introduced what it's calling a rage room, where players can express emotions safely and in private. Last month at the Australian Open, a racket-smashing outburst by the American Coco Gauff in the players' area was broadcast worldwide. BBC News. Welcome back to NewsHour. The more than 10,000 members of the Academy of Motion Pictures, Arts and Sciences will be marking up their ballots today to choose the next month's Oscar winners for Hollywood's biggest night of the year. For the first time, Norway has secured a nomination for the most prestigious award, Best Picture. The film, Sentimental Value, is set in Oslo, and it's already won at Cannes, the British Academy Film Awards, the BAFTAs, and it swept the boards at the European Film Awards too. The director of the film, Joachim Trier, has collected many of those awards, and Tom Brooke caught up with him in Berlin.
Well, I don't know, man. I'm very happy that people care about films from Norway. It didn't used to be like that.
Meet Joachim Trier, the director of Sentimental Value. His profile has been boosted by the success of his modestly budgeted Norwegian family drama, which has picked up an impressive 9 Oscar nominations and numerous other accolades.
My father is a very difficult person.
It's the story of a family in Oslo, the relationship between 2 sisters. And at its center, it details the estrangement between one of the sisters, an actor played by Renate Reinsve, and her film director father, portrayed by Stellan Skarsgård, who's trying to reclaim his former glory.
Why didn't you want to do the role? I can't work with him.
I guess I am interested in behavior more than I am in telling stories.
Yes.
I'm interested in trying to get into the head of people.
Joachim Trier told me of the genesis of Sentimental Value.
What is different with this film, as opposed to the previous ones, I think is that I made something which deals with very fundamental issues of communication and discommunication in families, between siblings, parents and children. Things that I imagine are more universal almost than anything I've done, because it's about 2 sisters, grown-up women, who's trying to deal with their father, who has been quite a narcissistic, difficult character, quite avoidant, and they're trying to reconcile. So many people see that as an allegory of dealing with men in power or men that are of that generation that don't